Hey everybody, I'm here talking about the Tell Me I'm Lovely production, mixing and mastering. And so the song starts off right out of the gate with a harmonium, swells in here, and it's similar to an accordion. It's an Indian instrument. And the guitar starts. And then vocals. So what's cool about the harmonium is you can add a reverb to it, and it just makes it sound like really cool and rich. So I've added quite a lot of reverb over here. And if you've watched the rest of these videos, I always put reverb in the sends category over here, and then I typically will pan. When you send a reverb, you can pan the reverb to the left or the right, and so I have the instruments panned left and right, but then I have the reverb going the opposite way. Creates a very lush effect. Basic EQ for those. Nothing special about the guitar necessarily. If you watch my last videos, I have been doing a lot more stereo guitar, so I have a left and a right. And so I've got EQ on them, on the channels, cutting out the lows, giving a little twinkle on the high there, the 4 or 5K area. Definitely compressing the guitars. You know, whenever I start strumming later, we got some compression going on. Just a little bit, kind of activating right there. Okay, let's talk about the drums and the bass and the vocals a little bit. So let's go back to the drum start. Got a cool kind of Latin beat. Actually, just briefly, I recorded this electric guitar last minute, and it's like one of my favorite parts. It's just a subtle hit, but it's super gritty, especially live. We performed this, and it's like very impactful. It just like hits, you know, around the cymbals. It's a good extra grit. Okay, drums. So pretty cool drums. I made Vernon focus more on the toms, but he still has some cool snare hits in there. I took out some of the reverb on the snare because I had a friend say it was pretty digital sounding. I've got the tambourine in that bus as well, which is fine. Tambourine panned far right. Anything else about the drums? So just your basic kind of EQs and compression. You can see the kick is really hitting hard here, but I've got some compressors on there that are definitely kind of reducing that gain a little bit. But I kind of liked really driving yeah, we got some activation on this compressor here. I really liked pushing the drums a lot harder on this one, just like gain levels and stuff. And then over here on my drum bus, I put, you know, a saturation knob, and so we've got some grit happening there, just a little bit, because it's activating like right there out of the... I mean, that can't be more than, you know, 5%, and it's activating, so... Okay, so the drums are definitely grittier, got some reverb on them, the toms have a lot of reverb, so push the drums a little bit harder. I've got a decapitator, which is brought to you by Soundtoys. Not a sponsor of my Dinky channel, our Dinky Ross Hollow channel. It's called the Drum Fattener is the preset, and I got some drive on there. I kind of just went with the defaults on this one, and you can see it activating. On the attitude scale here. So you can hear some swelly drums, or sorry, swelly trumpets. We added that kind of last minute, and it honestly made the song a lot cooler, I think. Let's talk about the bass before we move on to the trumpet. I kind of just went with a classic bass sound, you know, kind of, I mean, it's electric bass. Jared plays, he does a really good job. He has good movement, but I did add a little reverb, which is kind of nice, I think. We got the decapitator on there as well. Not activating as much as the drums here, but definitely getting on up there. And that's a beefy bass preset. So the presets for the Soundtoys bundle are really good. So, okay, so we've come to a cool trumpet part. Oh, we didn't talk about the banjo. Banjo! Got banjo panned far right. Vinnie Martone played that. And nothing super special. I really like the part. I honestly have a similar EQ as the guitar. Yeah, very similar, kind of cutting the lows, raising some of the highs, the twinkle. Got some compression and some reverb, but I recorded that stereo, panned it far right. Adds a lot to the song. So let's talk about this horn right here.
Trim me down and tell me I'm lonely.
I'm gonna solo that, really cool part. Pretty sweet. So that is a cool part. So I made Jason play like a bunch of parts, our trumpet player. So he had some mutes, he had some open stuff, and so a really neat horn part.
And tell me I'm lonely.
So the best part of the song is the bridge, so we'll spend some time on that before we move on to mastering. Annalise starts with the vocals. So vocals we didn't really talk about, but I've got a ton of stuff over here. We've got EQ. I keep having to drag it up from my other monitor. EQ, believe it or not, similar to the guitar. We got some mud cut. We got the cut the lows. We got some raised clarity over here. Same thing. We got a saturation knob. That's actually pushed a lot higher, and I think that's just based on the gain level. So sometimes you have to push the saturation knob more if the gain is a little bit lower. So I record with the ribbon mic, so the gain is not quite as hot as some of those drum mics. Compressors, some more EQ to kind of balance out, so we're not just using one plugin. If you've watched my other videos, you've heard me talk about that, using serial EQ, serial compression, serial reverb, so that you're not relying on one plugin to fulfill all your needs. All right, we got our classic analog delay on Annalise vocals, and that's the Soundtoys Echo Boy. Super great plugin. I think on my vocals, I have just the Studio One stock analog delay. Oh, that's in our sends down here. So analog delay. I just use the stock sweetened vocal one for that, but if you want to check out the settings there, you could pause it. I bring the dry wet mix down to 50%. Standard reverbs over here, different rooms. So yeah, that's kind of the vocals, but let's keep listening. Druva's pads are really cool. I have a Druva bus, which is kind of funny. So really sweet. We call them the Druva pads. So the classic sort of building bridge that kind of dives off. We've got a shout bus. So I know some of you are definitely like producing your own music out there that have watched some of this. I know that like the last two videos, production videos, have had like 30 views, but I know that y'all are like super into this stuff. So one recommendation I definitely have is that you definitely want to automate your bridges and or your dynamics so that you have sort of that building effect. So if you notice my shout bus, right here it starts to increase and then decrease. So I actually automated the shout to come in and out. So it increases slowly. And so I did that with several, so you want to automate, right? And so the compressors are going to definitely like make sure it doesn't get too hot. And they're going to compress that audio, but definitely automate some of those sections so that you can get a much bigger and or dynamic part. But I highly recommend if you do group shouts or group yells that you put them on a bus and then compress them and EQ them, because if you don't and you're trying to rely on each individual channel, you're going to get overwhelmed, and personally it's not going to sound as good and blend as well, because So yeah, I would definitely recommend putting all of like group shouts, group vocals into a bus, so that you can get that really well. You still pan them individually, but like overall, they're going to sound much more cohesive. And if you put a reverb on the bus in the send, then you're going to get an additional reverb from the individual channel and then the bus. That way, you're getting a much, it's like you're all in the same room, right? If you put the room reverb on the bus, it's like all those vocalists are in the same room. So definitely look into adding buses to your big shouts and your group yells and your harmonies and stuff like that. Same with the trumpets, same with the drums. I put them all on their own bus, and I add EQ and compression and effects to the overall channel so you can get a little bit more cohesive sound, especially since you're doing like, you know, multi-tracking and whatnot. Okay, let's listen to that one more time. Should be able to hear the... We did it organically too, right? Like we built, but there's also some automation. I made Jason play that super high trumpet part. It was funny. He's like, oh, here we go. Also, those toms. Here's a cool thing just to mention real quick. I know that we're getting a little long on this video, but the toms have automated. These are actually tom outros over here, I think. Snare outro and tom accents. Oh, no, actually, I think it's here. I think it might actually be here. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so I actually automated the send level for the reverb on the tom, so you can actually hear it gets super big and yeah, expansive there. Same thing with the snare. Actually, I didn't do that. It was fine in my ears. So that's definitely something to take your mixes to the next level, which is automating the send level of your reverb in your either vocals, you know, toms, guitar, even like whatever you're working on. Okay, so let's move on to mastering real quick, and then we'll be done with this video. So, as you heard last time, our album is called Not Fine. Our previous album was Fine. I'm not going to update my mastering file. Okay, so quickly go over the master. You should hear it being a lot louder. So it's negative 14 LUFs here. And Studio One, like I said, has a really great built-in mastering plugin where you can do all this stuff. And I've added an EQ. I felt like the low end was really active, so I took some of that out. It wound up still being pretty active, but, you know, it's fine. Okay, and then I added multiband compression. And I was definitely compressing the low end a little bit as well.
Strip me down and tell me I'm lovely.
So you should really hear a fullness there, a much fatter sound than the mix. Very tight and cohesive, I think.
We hide so much behind.
So after I EQ'd some of the low end out, I actually brought some up on this EQ, and I pulled out kind of this like frequency that was ringing through. So added a little bit there, and our classic, or not classic, but our new Ozone Elements mastering plugin, super nice, has great default settings.
These glowing screens.
Added some width to it.
I've seen so much of you.
This is the warm definition default, but I actually tweaked it a little bit, so I didn't go straight. And our maximizer.
See none of me. Strip me down.
And then
And tell me you
2
love
limiters. I actually did 3 limiters. So I did 3 limiters on this just because I didn't want there to be too much harshness on this.
Strip me down.
So just, you know, slight reduction for each limiter.
And tell me I'm lovely.
Not even having that much limiting on the master fader. So this one's actually probably not functioning that much on there. So the first 2 limiters are getting them. Only a negative 1.29 reduction because our goal is to like not get too too crazy with it. All right, hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments if you like are learning something from these videos. I know that I've had about 30 people or so on the past 2 videos watch them, so for me that's enough to keep doing it because I love this stuff. And so yeah, have a good one.